Friends, please subscribe my channel Learn and Study. In this channel you can see BD notes, assignments, activities and question papers and TET syllabus and previous year question papers. Thank you. Today in this video you will see the psychology activity for BD Sem 1. Interact with 5 adolescents and collect information about their attitudes, interests, aspirations in respect of their educational and occupational choice. Abstract. Aspiration began with the shape early in child's life but are modified by experience and the environment. Aspiration tend to be declined as children mature in response to their growing understanding of the world and constraints imposed by previous choices and achievements. The main method used for the collection of data was interview, schedule, observation, focused group discussions and case study. The sample was drawn through simple random sampling method from the population which comprised adolescent child at the age of 13 to 18 years. The study shows that there is a significant effect on adolescent educational aspiration of parents' educational level, perception of fathers and mother aspirations. For adolescent and parent influence on the high school plans. Adolescents whose parents' educational level was high schools were more likely to have high aspirations. Similarly, adolescents whose parents' education levels was low were more likely to have low aspirations. Young people with higher post graduation secondary education, as were those whose parents had higher achievements. Introduction. Adolescent children are often considered to represent the future as they bring new ideas and energy to add to the pool of knowledge that currently exists. They can bring enthusiasm and vitality, which can lead to new discoveries and developments that can benefit society or even the development of the world at large. Education is a process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. Educational methods include storytelling, discussions, teaching, training, and direct research. Education can take place in formal or informal settings, and any experiences that has a formative effect on the way one thinks, feels, or acts may be considered educational. Aim. Interaction with 5 adolescents and collect information about their attitudes, interests, aspirations in respect of their educational and occupational choice. Objectives. The objectives of the present study are discuss various educational facilities and the problems in that they face it, explore the sources of educational aspirations for the adolescents, study the relationship between the educational aspiration and the effective choice of occupation among the adolescents. Methodology. The data for the present study have been collected during a days when they are available to interact. The main method used for the collection of data is interview, schedule, observation, focus group discussion and case study. The sample was drawn through simple random sampling method for the population which comprised adolescents children at the age of group of 13 to 18 years. The secondary data was collected from official records. Education facilities. They have significant effect on the adolescent educational aspiration of the parents' educational level. Perception of fathers and mother aspiration for adolescents and parents influence on high school plans. The majority of the parents had low educational training. They were reserved as having high educational aspiration for their adolescents. When parents' aspiration for their adolescents were preserved to be low, a larger proportion of the adolescents have low aspiration. On the other hand, when a parent's aspiration for adolescents were preserved to be high, the number of adolescents reported a high level of educational attainment for parents and preserved their parents' aspiration as high. These students were more inclined to agree with the preserved aspiration of their parents. The parents are interested to afford money for their children for higher education, but adolescent children having a low grade or in high school fail to get admission in higher studies. Schools made very little or had no impact on schedule students' educational goal. Family factors that have been identified as influencing the decision to enroll in higher education include the family as a response to the resources provider, family members as a role models, and family as a source of encouragement for higher education. Sources of education aspiration among the adolescents. In the study area, many parents view educating sons as an investment because the sons will be responsible for caring for aging, aging parents. But in few cases in modern city, there is no gender inequality. Both parents are now thinking maturely that education is necessary for all future necessities. The attitude of the parents should change as if daughter with a higher level of education will likely to have higher dowry expenses as they will want comparably educated husband. In other areas, adolescent people tend to be more confident about the achieving their goals in life. In the inner city area, aspirations did not appear to be a barrier to success. Relationship between the education aspiration and the effective choice of occupation among the adolescents. Choosing an occupation is the most important and inevitable event in the life of an adolescent. This was the age where children tried to be figure out life and aspired for their dreams job. Due to the individual differences, some students are more attracted to certain occupations and others are less attracted to the occupations. In the modern society, each student is to be equipped with adequate knowledge and skills to have realistic occupational aspirations and make age appropriate career decisions. Understanding occupational aspiration at this stage is crucial factor as it gives directions to one's future. The career decisions and choices made earlier in one's life has direct impact on subsequent success and satisfaction. Most students also preserved that the parents and teachers and counselors were all encouraging college attendance after graduation from high school. Internet in the working conditions, salary wages, and personal satisfactions were the leading factor considered by seniors when selecting a career. Findings. In recent times, several major announcements were made for development. The poor state of affairs in education sector in India. The most notable ones being the National Commission Minimum Program of the United Program Alliance government. The announcements are to progressively increase expenditure on education and around 6% of GDP. To support these increases in expenditure on education and to increase the equality of education, there would be an imposition of education access overall central government taxes. To ensure that no one is denied of education due to economic backwardness and poverty. To make right to education fundamental rights for all children in age groups of 6 to 14 years. To universalize education through its flagship programs such as Sharva Siksha Abhiyan and midday meals. During the research, it was found that the variables of an educational facility were comprised of one primary school on and one government school for both the genders. Despite of having highly effective teachers in the schools, there was various hindrance in retaining of those teachers. Various reasons discouraging teachers to continue in the school can be classified under long commute hours, rejected teachers who were willing to teach in rural areas, but they wanted to stay in town as better facilities available in the urban areas. There was also a case of teacher who dropped the school and transferred because he or she could not long hours commute and its cost. In many cases, females themselves are responsible for holding back their participation in education, working on preserved notions that they will be unable to cope up with the pressure of balancing work at home, assuming that mobility in employment can cause strain at the home front or conform to socially induced images of femininity. Suggestion and conclusion. Education textbooks should be made interesting for students, textbooks relating to their culture. Their traditions and values should also be there so as to create their interest in studies. There is a gap between adolescent people aspiration to higher education and their actual chance of exceeding the level of education. Providing secondary school students and their parents with better information could be a good and manageable starting point in the process. The first thing students need was information on career and higher education institutions as well as the steps and requirement to apply the higher education. More specifically, when parents had higher educational training were involved in the adolescent schools programs were prescribed as having higher aspiration for their adolescents. These adolescents were more likely to have higher education aspirations. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe my channel.